All right, so today is the next webinar in our series of Mastering the Fundamentals, and that is our Restaurant 365 Accounting webinar series. Today, specifically, we're going to be talking about daily banking activity, and that's bank transactions and automated matching and rules. And let's go to the next slide. Beautiful. All right. Today, my name is Leon Graves. I'm the moderator. In the background, we're going to have Taylor Sears, and he is an incredible expert that is going to be answering your questions in real time. So don't feel like you have to wait for your questions to put them until the end. And now to introduce our incredible host, Marissa Brenley is going to take us through. Welcome, Marissa.
Thanks, Leon. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is webinar 3 of our Mastering the Fundamentals Restaurant 365 Accounting webinar series. As Leon mentioned, we're talking about daily bank activity today. The overall goal of this webinar series is to strengthen these fundamental accounting tasks so that we can contribute to a timely and efficient month-end process that will result in profit and loss statements that are complete and accurate that we have confidence in. So we're holding these weekly webinars to work through those daily and weekly tasks and reach that overall goal. Before we dive into today's agenda, we have a few housekeeping items to review together. All right, after today's webinar, a recording will be available and we will wrap up with a live Q&A session as Leon mentioned. So as we go throughout the agenda today, please feel free to drop your questions in that Q&A box that should be at the bottom of your screen. All right, let's review our agenda for today. So again, this is webinar 3. We're talking about daily bank activity. The previous 2 webinars, we talked about sales and accounts payable. If you want to revisit those webinars or you weren't able to attend, there is a webinar library available to review those. For today's topic, daily bank activity, we're specifically talking about bank transactions. We're also going to review how to leverage bank transactions, auto matching, and bank rules to just help make an overall efficient process with bank activity. Why is this daily bank activity important? So, capturing daily bank activity is going to ensure that we have a full picture of our expenses, money coming in, so our cash and credit card deposits. We'll be able to review that information real time so that we have complete financials at any time we're looking at them. But it's also going to contribute to that end goal of this webinar series, right? We want to make sure we have an efficient month end process that results in financial reports that we have confidence in. So we want to maintain these tasks daily, ensure that they're accurate on a daily basis, and just build up to that efficient month-end process. And specifically for banking, we're talking about that bank reconciliation. So that's what we'll be covering today and the goal that we'll be reaching. We're going to get started, and I'm going to switch over to the database that we're training in. So just bear with me one moment. All right. Okay. So, there could be a couple problems that you may be experiencing that are connected to bank activity. Some of these things could be that we have inaccurate financials throughout the period. We may have delayed financials at month end. We may be missing maybe payments or have a hard time finding our cash and credit card deposits. These are all things that are tied into bank activity. You could also be experiencing maybe a timely bank reconciliation at period end. So by doing these things daily, working through this bank activity and making sure that it's accurate now, we're just ensuring that that month-end process goes smoother and that we have timely and accurate financial information. So we'll get started with today's agenda. Going through daily bank activity, we're going to primarily be working in our bank activity screen. So the bank activity screen is going to be found under accounting and bank activity. The first thing that you'll do is you'll want to retrieve your bank activity. So that can be done with a bank connection or it can be done by uploading bank activity through a file. If you have questions about retrieving bank activity or uploading files, we have detailed information on this in our Restaurant 365 knowledge base. So I'll have you go there to learn any specifics about that. Once we get into bank activity, we need to select the account that we'll be working in. So for today, we're going to be working in checking 6. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, this is webinar 3 of our Accounting Fundamentals series. The first 2 webinars, we're talking about daily sales summaries and accounts payable. You want to ensure those tasks are completed daily before you get into your bank activity. Ensuring that those tasks are completed first is going to contribute to a more efficient and complete daily bank activity review process. So again, if you missed those webinars or you just want a refresher, check those out in our webinar library. So when we're in our bank activity screen, we've ensured that we've completed those first 2 daily tasks of daily sales and accounts payable. And we've also imported or retrieved our bank activity for the day. So we have a couple tabs that we'll be working through in bank activity. We have the unmatched tab, the rule applied tab, and the matched and excluded tab. We'll be looking at the rule applied tab later on in our webinar, so we're going to skip that for now and we'll just be focusing on the unmatched and the matched and excluded tab. The first thing that we'll talk about is our auto matching feature within bank activity. So to kind of set the scene here, we've logged in for the day, we've retrieved our bank activity, and when you retrieve bank activity, every transaction that's happened in your bank account will appear in this unmatched tab. When we are uploading this bank activity into Restaurant 365, the system is reviewing this activity and it's trying to look for financial records that already exist in your database for this bank activity to match to. So it's looking for withdrawals, it's looking for daily sales summaries, it's looking for AP payments, and it's trying to find matches for you based off of the date and the dollar amounts. When it finds a match with your bank activity to a financial record that already exists in the system, it's going to put that activity on the matched and excluded tab. So the matched and excluded tab still contains the transactions that have happened in your bank account, but these are the transactions that have happened in your bank account that have a financial record matched to it from your database. So we'll use this top transaction as an example here. We can see that we have a withdrawal of $1,975 that happened on 9/30, and it looked like this was a water payment. So this is a withdrawal that happened out of your bank account. The system has found a match to this, and it's matched it to this AP payment record to water utilities. I'm going to open up this AP payment record, and we can see that we made this payment on 9/26, and it was for $1,975. When the payment eventually withdrew from your bank account on 9/30, the system was able to create this auto match because we already had the approved payment record in Restaurant 365. So we retrieved our activity. The system saw that there was a $1,975 withdrawal from the bank account. It saw that it was dated after the AP payment had been recorded, and so it recorded this as a transaction that was automatically matched. Our end goal is that everything in the unmatched tab does eventually flow into the matched and excluded tab, whether that be through auto matching or through manually recording bank transactions, which we'll look at together in a moment here. Ideally, this auto matching is going to be covering a lot of the bank transactions that you'll need to be recording because you'll be already recording your AP payments and approving those daily sales summaries. So we see our credit card deposits. We have some Amex deposits, some cash deposits in here. These are also examples of things that have automatically matched to your daily sales summary records because those daily sales summary records were completed and approved timely. So the match tab is going to contain those transactions that are matched. These will be automatically selected for you on your bank reconciliation at the end of the period when you go to open your bank reconciliation. So that's why our end goal is to get all of this activity to the matched and excluded tab. So again, auto matching is going to happen when you upload activity into the bank activity screen. It's going to happen when you have financial records that are already approved in Restaurant 365. And the auto matching feature is running off of the date and dollar amount data fields to create those auto matches for you. We'll move back to the unmatched tab here. So we've talked about the match and excluded tab. We've talked about how auto matching works. But what about all of these transactions that are in our unmatched tab? These are still transactions that have happened in your bank account. So they're withdrawals or deposits that have occurred in your financial bank account. But if they're in the unmatched tab, what it's saying is that these do not have a financial record in Restaurant 365 to match to. Now, that could be a number of reasons, right? It could be that we haven't approved daily sales summaries yet. So the daily sales summaries aren't approved, therefore, not allowing that auto match to happen. It could also be that the information in the financial records that we do have approved just is a little bit different from what actually cleared the bank account. So we're working through the transactions in the unmatched tab to record the bank transactions that we need to record, match it to transactions that we need to match them to ultimately get this activity over to the matched and excluded tab. We're going to start with deposits. So we see a couple deposits in here. We can see deposits from Uber, cash, credit cards. Deposits can be separated into two different categories. We have deposits that are related to our daily sales summaries. These would be cash and credit card deposits. And then we have all other deposits. So those could be deposits from our third party delivery. They could be deposits from maybe vendor credits. But ultimately, when you're looking at the unmatched tab and you're looking through your deposit records here, you want to kind of make that separation. Is this related to daily sales summaries because it's a cash or credit card deposit, or is it something not related to my daily sales summary? We're going to start here with this cash deposit of $1,010. So at this point, we are assuming that we have completed our previous daily tasks, which include approving daily sales summaries and recording all of our account payable transactions. So if we see this deposit in here, I know that it is not because I have unapproved daily sales summaries. This must mean that this cash is different than what was recorded in my daily sales summary. So what I need to do is tie this back to the daily sales summary this cash deposit was for, and I do that with clicking this deposit record. When I click deposit here, it's going to open up the deposit screen. And on the first tab of the screen is the undeposited payments tab. What we can find in this tab is a list of transactions from our daily sales summaries that has not yet been recorded as deposited in our bank account. So we have a couple cash deposits. Those are identified by the deposit one amount. And then we have a couple credit card deposits here. Now, this specific amount that we're looking at was a deposit on 9/17 for $1,010. So we know that this needs to be tied to a daily sales summary that is prior to 9/17, and we're looking in this $1,010 range. We have a daily sales summary on 9/16 that had recorded a deposit of $1,011. So we can see here that this has a difference of a dollar. Now, this could be for a number of reasons, right? Maybe we miscounted when we were counting cash. Maybe we had a typo when we entered in the deposit amount in the daily sales summary. Could be that maybe a bill was damaged when we deposited that at the bank. Whatever the reason is, though, is we do need to connect this cash deposit to the daily sales summary it was for, and we need to recognize the adjustment that is the difference between what was recorded in the daily sales summary and what actually got deposited in the bank account. So we do this by checking off the daily sales summary that this is for and moving to the adjustment tab. In the adjustment tab, we are recording this variance here. Typically for this case, it would go to something like cash over short. We'll click add, and then we can see our amount remaining is 0. So we'll be able to create the deposit now. Once we created that deposit record, it moved from the unmatched tab and it's now going to be found in the matched and excluded tab. And we can see that here for that $1,010 deposit. We can see that it's been matched to that bank deposit record that we created. So this is the end goal with everything that we're going to be doing in the unmatched tab, whether it's a deposit, a withdrawal, a transfer. We want that activity to go into the matched and excluded tab, and that's going to be what is completing that daily bank activity process. So we're back in the unmatched tab. We looked at the deposit type that was related to daily sales summaries. So if you remember, we talked about deposits and how there are two different types. Something that is tied directly to our daily sales summaries, which would be cash and credit cards, and anything not tied directly to the daily sales summaries. So we're going to talk about that second category here. Those deposits could be from things like our third party delivery services, could be things like refunds or credits from our vendors. Regardless of what that deposit is, you're going to approach it the same way, and that's going to still be with this deposit record. I'm going to use this Uber deposit as our example here. So we have a deposit of $2,323 from Uber. I'm going to click deposit, and that opens back up our deposit screen. But because this deposit is not tied directly to a cash deposit or a credit card deposit, I'm going directly to the adjustments tab. And from here, I'm going to code this transaction. Now, we could just code this balance to the Uber accounts receivable account and click add and then create our deposit. We could also take this as an opportunity to record those delivery fees that we're being charged from our third party delivery. So if that's what you're going to do, you want to pull up the statement that the third party delivery company has provided you. This 2323 is representing your net deposit from the delivery company. Your gross deposit is probably something like 2500. So this is the gross deposit amount from Uber, and then they've reduced that deposit by the fees that they're withholding. So we need to code these fees to the expense account that we would record delivery fees to, and then we would click add. And again, you want to make sure you have that statement in front of you so that you can confirm that gross deposit amount and any additional fees that you would need to record. Once you've recorded that information accurately here, you'll click create deposit. And again, that moves that to the matched and excluded tab, and we can see that Uber deposit for 2323 here. All right, so we've talked about working through the unmatched tab, and we've talked about our deposit records. So just as a reminder, those two different categories would be deposits related to daily sales summaries, which would be for things like cash and credit cards, and then things not related to the deposits, the undeposited funds from daily sales summaries, which would be things like third-party delivery, vendor credits. We want to make sure we're recording these deposits timely. There's a couple different impacts that these could have. So for cash specifically, we want to make sure that those cash deposits are actually ending up in our bank account. They're not getting misplaced or lost or anything like that. So we want to be able to review this information on a daily basis and assure that we're getting all of our cash. Same thing with credit cards. We want to make sure that all of our credit card payments are being processed timely and accurately, and we're getting those funds from our credit card processor. That's going to ensure that we have a complete picture of all of our cash being deposited into the bank account and allow us to have complete and accurate financial records at any point throughout the period. We're going to move on to withdrawals now. So if you see here, we have a number of withdrawals. We have a couple fees, transfers, some payments. Now, transfers are going to be a separate category, so we're just going to focus on any withdrawals that are not related to transfers. But we could have different withdrawal types. And so again, we're going to separate these into two categories. So withdrawals could be for things like payments to your vendors, and that would fall into our AP payment categories. The second type we could have are withdrawals to maybe like recurring dues and subscriptions, or for example, down here we have a monthly bank fee, we have our credit card fees. This category we're going to call non-AP payments. So when we're looking at these withdrawals out of the bank account, we need to ask ourselves every single line item, is this withdrawal related to accounts payable? If your answer is yes, for example, this maintenance vendor, we would need to record an AP payment for this. If you're looking at the withdrawal like credit card fees and you're saying this is not accounts payable, I do not enter in invoices for this, then we are not going to record this with an AP payment. We'll record this with a withdrawal record. We are going to start with our AP payments though, so we'll go back down to this maintenance vendor payment. So we can see on 9/12, we paid $750 to our maintenance vendor. And I'm asking myself, is this related to accounts payable? My answer is yes. I know I'm entering in invoices for this vendor. So we'll go ahead and click AP payment. We're going to search in the vendor field for that vendor that this payment was for. So we're looking for a maintenance vendor. And then we need to apply this payment to the approved invoices that we have in the system. So we paid $750. We have a $750 invoice here that we can apply this payment to. Before you click Create Payment, you want to ensure that your payment balance is now zero, which means we've applied this full payment to an invoice. We're also going to check this AP invoice amount remaining and ensure that the full amount of the invoice was paid with this payment here. With both of these amounts being zero, we can now create this payment. Same thing that we were seeing with our bank deposits, that's going to now be found in the matched and excluded tab. And if we scroll down here, we can find this AP payment to our maintenance vendor is now in our matched and excluded tab, meaning it's going to be automatically selected when we go to do that bank reconciliation at the end of the period. Go back to our unmatched tab here. All right, so we're still talking about withdrawals. We've identified two different categories of withdrawals. We have withdrawals that are AP payments and we have non-AP payment withdrawals. AP payments are for things that are going to be paid to vendors that you are entering in invoices for. Those must be recorded with an AP payment record. Our second category of non-AP payments are for things that we are not entering in invoices for. Those are going to be things like credit card fees or bank fees or recurring charges similar to like maybe Spotify subscriptions or maybe utilities that we're not entering in invoices for. We'll use this bank fee as our example of how to record non-AP transactions. So we have a couple options here. The first one would be just by clicking this withdraw button. The withdrawal record is very similar to that adjustments tab of the bank deposit that we looked at earlier. So from this withdrawal, we just say, where do we want to code this? So this is our monthly bank fee. So this would go to something like bank charges. You would click add and then create withdraw. This would then move that transaction to the matched and excluded tab. So that's one option that we have. We can also just do a quick add from this main screen. So you can see that we have a header up here. This header's name is account. And so that means that we can put in the GL account that this transaction is for. We already said this would go to bank charges, so we can see that here. So we can say this bank fee needs to be mapped to bank charges at location 6, and then we can click add. And then that again moves that to the matched and excluded tab. You can see that $150 bank fee that's moved here to the matched and excluded tab, recorded with that bank expense record. Both the add button and the withdraw button create the same exact record. Just one is a little bit quicker. It's a quick add directly in the bank activity screen. The withdraw button would open up the withdraw record. Times when you would have to use the withdraw record would be if that withdraw needed to be coded to multiple GL accounts. So let's say this fee here, part of it we put to bank charges. We can use this box here to do calculations. And then the other part here we put to maybe credit card fees. We can click add. So we would be able to break up this expense across multiple GL accounts or even multiple locations if that applies to your situation, and then click create withdrawal up here. So we talked about our withdrawals. Again, we have those separated into two different categories, AP payments and non-AP payments. When you're looking through your amounts here and you see a withdrawal, you want to ask yourself each time, is this related to AP? Do I need to record an AP payment, or is that just going to be a bank expense record, which I can do with either the withdraw button or the add button? Recording these expenses is going to ensure that we have complete picture of all of our expenses that are occurring throughout the period. We're going to be able to have real-time financial records that are complete and accurate, but also contributing again to that end goal, which is having a complete and accurate P&L that we can rely on at the end of the month, and contributing to just an efficient bank reconciliation process at month end. So we've talked about deposits, we've talked about withdrawals. Now we're going to talk about transfers. If we look at the screen, we have a couple transfers. We have a transfer to location 1 and a transfer from location 1. These are both going to be recorded with the same transaction type. So we're just going to choose one of them here. We'll do the transfer to location one as our example. So this is a transfer. Even though this did withdraw from your bank account, we're going to treat transfers as a separate transaction type. So we see this as a transfer here. Transfers will be recorded with a transfer record, which can be found back in the home page of Restaurant 365. So we go back to a home page and we go to our Create menu. From Create, we can find under the banking section this transfer record. You will record a transfer record for things that are a transfer out of your bank account and a transfer into the bank account. So this example down here, this $900 deposit. Again, we're working on the $1,500 one dated 9/17. So we will go back to our transfer record. This was a transfer from the checking 6 account. We can confirm here that it was a transfer to location 1. So we will choose transfer to checking 1. That was for $1,500. And just to confirm the date, that happened on 9/17. So we'll choose our date here. Now, if you remember back to auto matching that we were talking about earlier, we are ensuring that this amount and this date, we're entering in this correctly so that when we approve this record, the system is going to be able to auto match the bank activity that we have to this financial record that we've created, this bank transfer record. So we'll click approve here and I'm going to choose approve and close. I'm going to go back into my bank activity screen. And once I refresh the bank activity screen, which can be done by clicking reapply bank rules, we'll see that it has identified to us that one activity has been automatically matched. And when we go to our matched and excluded tab, we will find that transfer to location 1 for $1,500 has been matched to the bank transfer record that we created together. Transfers will be for things that you're moving money between maybe different location bank accounts, which was that example that we just walked through here. Could also be commonly for moving money between like your operating and your payroll accounts. So if those are actions that you're moving money in between your bank accounts, the best way to record that activity is going to be with a transfer record. All right, so we worked through our unmatched tab. We've talked about how to record deposits, how to record withdrawals, how to record transfers. We want to ensure that we are clearing this unmatched tab on a daily basis by recording these transactions and completing our other daily tasks with the end goal of getting all transactions out of the unmatched tab and into the matched and excluded tab. One last thing that we have to review together today are bank rules. So, bank rules are just going to help you with this daily bank activity management. It's going to help with things that maybe are just like reoccurring transactions that happen commonly and always go to the same GL accounts. So, some examples of this would be like our Uber deposits or our credit card fees. Even that bank fee that we recorded, we could create a bank rule for that. So we're going to navigate to our rule vault now. When you go into the rule vault, what you'll find here is preset rules, and these are set up in every database. These are the rules that allow that auto matching to happen that we've been looking at throughout the webinar. So anything here that says Restaurant 365, that's contributing to your auto matching function. You can then create additional rules. So we'll go to the new rule in the top right-hand corner, and you'll be creating transaction rules. And so basically what this is saying is you're creating a bank rule because this is a transaction type that happens commonly and it always goes to the same location and same GL account. And because it happens commonly, I'm going to set up a rule that just creates the transaction for me. So instead of going through credit cards and coding this to credit card fees every time credit card fees comes out of my bank account, I can create a rule that's going to do that for me. So credit card fees is the example that we'll use here together. We can see that it looks like about weekly here, we're getting credit card fees withdrawn from the bank account. So we'll go back to our rule vault and we're going to give it a name. So we just want this to align with what this transaction type is. So we'll put in here credit card fee. We're going to choose the bank account that this rule applies to. So this applies to checking 6. Then we need to set up the conditions. So what are the conditions of this transaction? This is always going to be a cash out. So credit card fees are always going to be a withdrawal out of our bank account. And then I'm telling the rule how to identify the bank activity that this rule should be applied to. So if we go back to our bank activity screen, we can see in the name column, this is always labeled fee. And in the comment column, it's always labeled credit card fees. And we can see that happen for every withdrawal here that's occurred for credit card fees. So we'll go back to our rule vault and we can choose both of these or one of them, a combination of them. We'll do a combination just to kind of give a full picture of what's available here in this condition section. So we can say every time credit card fees comes out of my bank account out of checking 6, the name is always equal to fee. Then I can create a second condition that says, and every time it comes out, the comment always, we could do equal to credit card fees, but we could also do contains credit card. Whatever function you're choosing here and the rule value, you just want to be double sure that it matches what you're seeing in the bank activity. So I'm going to come back in here and just double check my work. The name does always equal fee and the comment does always contain credit card. So confirm that my conditions are correct. And now I'm telling the system how it should create this transaction. So it should always be coded to location 6, and it always should go to the GL account credit card fees. I can click create on this rule here, and I want to make sure that it's an active rule so that it applies to my bank activity. Since I've created this rule and I've confirmed that it's an active rule, I can go back into my bank activity screen and reapply my bank rules. You can see that this unmatched tab, the transaction count went down by a couple transactions here. Those are now found in the rule applied tab. So you can see every week that credit card fees have come out of our bank account. The rule that we created has been applied to those that bank activity. We can see that it's taken that transaction and it's automatically coded it to credit card fees for us. So we want to make sure we're monitoring this rule applied tab, and we are adding these transactions to our matched and excluded tab. So right now, the status that these are in, these are still not financial records in your system. This is just bank activity informing you that these withdrawals have come out of your bank account. To create the financial records, what we need to do is select all after we've confirmed that the mapping is correct. And then we can bulk add these by going to select command and add selected. Once we do that, it moves all of these transactions to the matched and excluded tab, and you can see all of these credit card fees here. All right, so bank activity. We should be doing this on a daily basis. This should be one of the last daily tasks we're doing. So we're doing this after we've approved daily sales summaries. We're doing this after we've recorded our accounts payable transactions. We want to make sure all of those transactions are in the approved status so that we can really leverage the bank activity auto matching to capture all of these transactions for us that it can. After we've ensured that we've done those first daily tasks, then we're looking at the unmatched tab and we're looking at everything else that's left over. And we're breaking these up into different categories, right? We're looking at deposits, withdrawals, and transfers. And with each of those categories, we're then breaking them up further on what type of deposit it is, what type of withdrawal it is, to ensure that we are recording the correct transaction type for that bank activity. Doing this daily is going to ensure that we are having timely and accurate financial reporting. So if we're maintaining these tasks daily, we can look at a P&L at any point in time and be sure that we've captured all of our expenses. We can look at our cash deposits and confirm that we're receiving all of our cash deposits in our bank account. This is also contributing to that month-end process. So it's ensuring that our month-end process goes smoothly by doing a lot of this bank reconciliation for us and making sure that bank reconciliation process is efficient and timely. It's also contributing to the accuracy of our financial reports and our ability to be confident in those financial reports. So, doing these tasks daily is really going to make your month end process go faster. It's going to be more efficient and just result in that end result that we're aiming for with this fundamental series, which is financial reporting that we can rely on to help us make informed business decisions.